How y'all doing this evening? Um, well, it's Raider Chaos in the building, full effect. So let me know how you're doing down in the chat. See, there's a couple people in here. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. Let me know if you can hear me good. So can you guys hear me good? Let me know what's up. Okay, so you've seen the title. This is what we're gonna do. Um, our GM, uh, Dave Ziegler, he had an interview on Bussin' with the Boys the other day, and basically we're gonna go over a couple of the questions that they asked him. Pretty interesting stuff. So, yeah, one of the questions that got brought up was they asked him when he came to the Raiders. Um, they asked him when he came to the Raiders, what was one of the things that you knew you needed to fix? So his answer was pretty cool. Let's get into it. He said, with all the turmoil from the year before, there's a quick need for some quick stability. So, and then he talked about how him and Josh had to go in there and like just build relationships with everybody there. Um, he said that his main focus was not to go in there and fire everybody, which was good. He said that they needed to adjust this. You guys see the number 17, right? Best in the biz. He said that they kept a lot of people. They didn't want to fire anybody. Their biggest thing when they went in was to build trust. They wanted to build trust within the organization. The other thing that was kind of interesting is that he talked about. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. He talked about the scouting and how the he talked about how they would scout players from when he was with this time in New England. And I thought it was kind of crazy because he talked about how the scouting had to get more detailed, getting into the background of players, what their role would be, their locker room presence, character, and football intelligence. And then he kind of used Will Compton, which was one of the interviewers. I don't know if you've ever watched the show. Sorry. Will Compton is a former linebacker for the Raiders, but he used him as an example, and he was like, you know, when we're bringing in, we're not just bringing in a linebacker. He said when they think of a player, they're getting into, you know, specifics like what downs are he gonna play, what schemes can he be in, you know, just like, I don't want to say it, just being more specific on his role, and those types of things, which is really cool. And then football intelligence. Sorry about that. He talked about their football intelligence, just bringing in guys that know football, have situational awareness, and all that stuff. And I thought that was really cool because, like, every time you hear this guy talk, he's always talking about culture. He's talking about, you know, like, how do you build a winning culture? And and it all starts with, you know, the people the people and the athletes, personnel, and those kind of things. Um, I have some notes right here. It says to create a winning culture, you have to start with the people. Every environment has a culture. Creating a culture is like setting a tone. Um, think about your workplace. What's the culture in your workplace? Um, I know for ours, at my job, uh, we started implementing culture a couple years ago. Well, it's been about 4 now, but that was like their main focus is like with the culture, um, how to treat people, um, having integrity, honesty, teamwork. When you do that, you're creating a foundation on where you want to go as a company, and I believe that's what they're um, trying to do within the Raiders, bringing over Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. But I think it was really cool because it's setting a standard. When you hear this guy talk, like all of his answers, like even previous interviews, he said in previous interviews, every decision we make in 2022 is about 2023 and 2024. So they're looking ahead, and they're setting a high standard as far as who they're bringing in, because who you put in the locker rooms. Well, you got to think about it like this too. When you're bringing players in, you're spending money on them, and you don't want people in the locker room. You don't want to spend millions of dollars on players that are going to go into your locker room and just create division, create havoc, a bunch of divas, and stuff like that. But this is what he's talking about. He's talking about setting the bar high for personnel and athletes. When you begin to transition like this, what happens is people that don't fit the culture end up either leaving on their own or they have to get removed. It's almost like bad apples on a good tree. They don't last very long. The question number 2 that I want to kind of get into was about evaluating players. They asked him when evaluating players, how much do character issues play a part? And this kind of ties back into um, the other question too. He said it depends on how big the issues are, what the patterns are, like what they're dealing with, or if it's just showing up late, not practicing that well, and how talented they are. He said he asked them. He said, "Do the traits affect their ability to be good? Are the issues that they have, the baggage that they have, is it does it affect their ability to be good?" He said, "How are their football traits? Do they love to compete?" He said a lot of times with young players, there's a level of immaturity, which that's age. But he said, but are they the kind of player that is gonna practice hard, show up on time, put in the work, put in the effort, and then are they the kind of players that wants to compete against the best player on the opposite team? He said that there's a high reward if they're immature but they love to compete. He said where the risk is at is when the football traits are low but they do have a lot of talent. And then I think that's kind of crazy what he was saying, because I never knew that all those things went into the scouting. It's kind of like it's almost like an interview. I don't know if how many people are watching have ever done an interview, but you sit the person down, you ask them questions, um, and you're trying to get them to like sell themselves. You're trying to get to know them at the same time. Um, but then like they still have to pass the background check. You know what I'm saying? You still have to pass the background check. You know, is there any history there that, one of the last questions we ask when we're interviewing people is, is there anything in your background that we should know about? Because sooner or later, we might find out about it. You know what I mean? Um, and that's kind of how it is when you're an athlete. You're put into the spotlight, and any dirt you have might come up, and it might come back to haunt you. But those things that come back to haunt you, are they going to hinder your ability on the field? Are they going to hinder your talent? Are they going to keep you from playing on Sunday? Are they going to keep you from, being the best that you can be? Are they going to keep you from putting in those hours watching tape and film? Sorry, sorry guys. Um, and then another question that they asked the GM, they asked him, how do you win those close games, like the ones that you lost? What was it? We lost. The Raiders lost 8 one-score games. Ridiculous. And then you got the Vikings that won like 11 or 12 one-score games. But he said we weren't good enough. He said there were probably about 3 or 4 plays in each game that didn't go our way, and you have to ask why. He said you have to have all 11 guys on the same page. He said they must have football intelligence, a good football IQ, situational awareness, and he said at the end of the day, you need to build a smart, tough, physical team that can perform in critical situations. Basically, what he's saying is, you need players that have a good football IQ. They have to be smart guys. They have to know what they're doing on the field. The way I heard it described one time is, each player must know his role, what his duty is, what his job is on the field for every different play. And then what happens is, then you begin to learn what the guy next to you is supposed to do, what his job is, what his role is. And then you got the people in front of you. Then you got to understand what their roles are, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goal is, what their role is, all that. And then you got to know what time it is. You got to know the clock. You got to know what down it is. You got to know what you got to know what you got to do to stop them. If it's 3rd and long, it's a little bit different. Your role is probably going to be different from when it's 3rd and 1 or 1st and 10. Where are you at on the field? Are you trying to keep them out of field goal range, or are you trying to get them to punt? If you're back far enough. And I think that's very important. I think that's kind of crazy when he got into like the details of players. And then at the end, they talked about Derek Carr, and they asked him, does it raise the expectations making a decision on Carr like that? He said yes. That's the reality of it. However we fill that position, it doesn't mean we will have an immediate answer at the end of the day, you have to have an answer in some form or fashion. Then he went on to say that the pressure from having to fill that role creates excitement finding that guy, finding the next guy. And I think this is where everybody was freaking out because it sounded like he was um it sounded like they didn't really have a plan when they got rid of Derek Carr and benched him. Um, a lot of us think that maybe what they were really trying to do was to go all in for Tom Brady. And then out of nowhere, I think that could have been their plan B, their plan A. You know, now you got Rodgers coming out of his darkness retreat. But damn it, Ziegler, we want answers now. But yeah, is there any comments? No. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. At the end of the day, they're probably they I think they're in search. I think they're searching. I think they're trying to figure out what the next step is, and I think that's why they haven't re-signed anybody. I think that's why they haven't, um, you know, I don't think they. Man, I think they're just trying to figure out what is best for the organization. Whether it's running with Stiddy, picking up Garoppolo, Jimmy G. I don't know. If it was me, I mean, you already got rid of a guy that was sitting there for 9 years. I would, if it was me, what I would do is I would, I would go with somebody young, draft somebody, and then you already got Stiddy, re-sign Stiddy, Jared Stidham, and then have a little quarterback battle, see who wins, and then ride with that, and then spend all your money on defense and either franchise tagging Josh Jacobs or just giving him a deal and just build your roster that way. And because I feel like at the end of the day, if you can, I think right now we're sitting at almost 50 million in salary cap space. Let me see. Let's see. Oh, let's do this. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Mm, no, that's not right. Mm, let's see. Damn it. Come on. This is saying $72 million in salary cap, but that doesn't sound right. Mm, let's see what this says. Come on. Sorry, guys. Dude, I can't get a. Here's over the cap. Let's see what they say. Okay, just like I thought. Sorry, guys. So the Raiders right now, with Derek Carr off the books, have $48 million in cap space. So some of that stuff some of that money you got to save for the rookies. But there's plenty of money. There's plenty of money to re-sign Jacobs. There's plenty of money to go get. I don't know if they want to go. We really need a defensive tackle. Throw the bag at somebody. A linebacker. Breaking news today: Bobby Wagner is not with the Rams as of right now. I mean, there's somebody right there. He's probably going to demand a good chunk of money, but you can go out and spend on a corner. You know, we need good studs at every level. The D line, linebackers, safeties, corners. But if you could swing it, you could get either like a top notch at every level, or like just somebody that's good, that's not going to demand a lot. But then you're probably looking at somebody that's a little bit older. But I like the way that the regime goes after young players instead of like the old Gruden way, where we just went after old guys in the last 2 years of their career, and then we wondered why they were getting burnt by everybody. But yeah, $48 million. I mean, if it was me, I would probably re-sign Duron Harmon, re-sign Denzel Perryman, and then out of like the freaking 12 defensive tackles that we have, cut some and then re-sign some, re-sign like one or two good ones. I mean, obviously we just drafted 2 last year. But yeah, you got Bilal Nichols, you got Jerry Tillery. He's a free agent. Are you gonna re-sign him or what? But yeah, there's plenty of money there. You could probably get a good defensive tackle, a good linebacker next to Perryman, and then get then you have a decision on Rock Ya-Sin. Are you gonna re-sign him or get somebody else? I would re-sign Duron Harmon and then just draft somebody next to him. I mean, I think right now I feel like right now where we're at as an organization and a football team, I think the best thing to do would be to get some studs on defense in free agency, trade back in the draft to get more picks so that we can get a quarterback and then go heavy defense. And yeah, and then just let Stiddy and somebody else battle it out and just run with them and build the roster the right way. Pretty much how the Jets are right now. They built their roster, they built their defense, picked up a couple guys. They're still trying to figure out who their quarterback's going to be, but other than that, like the rest of the roster is pretty good. But yes, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Holler at your boy, Raider Chaos, in the building. Alright. You guys have a good night. Leave some comments down below. Hit those notes. Hit those thumbs and subs. Alright. You guys have a good night.